KMR Tech Talk. So we got a semi-peripheral port here. They go BRAP. They make tons of power. We're going to talk a little bit about them. This just happens to be a rotor housing that we just ported and set up here at the KMR shop for one of our customers. Just basic epoxy fill, alumafill, nice semi-peripheral, decent exhaust porting. This exact setup right here, we ran successfully. Turbocharged with a T4, 1.0 rear, nothing aggressive, 27 pounds of boost, and I think it did 680 roughly horsepower, 700 horsepower. So, I mean, the one thing to note is semi-peripherals are very popular right now, but they're not new. This is actually a technique that's been around for a long time. Very similar to peripheral porting. You're going through the water jacket, so you can see that area of the water jacket has to be filled. It's not a big deal. It's on the cold side of the motor, so you're not too worried about heat. But I think, a lot of people think, oh yeah, semi-peripheral, it's going to be better than a bridge. You're still affecting your water just like you do when you cut a bridge. So unless you're running a half bridge where you don't even cut the water seal, there's no cut at all, I still put general peripheral porting into the category of this is a race-oriented part. Lifespan, probably not exactly the same as what just the OEM component would be. There's going to be a little more concentration of heat in the long range via heat soak here, and a lot of the epoxies, even though we use DevCon alumafill, very popular with this type of situation. The epoxy does have a lifespan on it in the long run. I've seen this stuff go 5-10 years, but it's not everybody's case. I think a lot of people also like semi-peripheral ports because similar to installing a drag race cam in a V8 engine, a semi-peripheral is just instant horsepower. It's not instant horsepower at low RPM. Similar to a Bridgeport motor, depending on turbo sizing, depending on porting, port timing, injection, there's so many variables. It's impossible to compare peripheral port, semi-peripheral, and Bridgeport, really, because so many people have different variations, and something as simple as injection, ignition timing, turbo sizing can change power band. But generally, when you're talking about semi-peripherals or Bridgeports, you're talking about a motor's power that starts at about 5,000 RPM or up. So this is a motor that's going to have peak horsepower somewhere around 9 to 11,000 RPM. Really great for drag racing, really great for road racing. And part of the history of semi-peripheral ports that I think is really interesting is, like I said, it's not new. The idea of going through the water jacket here to increase airflow, my understanding came around via people cheating in road race application through different series over the different years because it was a way to hide increased airflow. If the series said, hey, no intake porting, no exhaust porting, well, crafty racers were sneaking extra air through semi-peripheral holes via their intake manifolds. Basically believe semi-peripherals have been around since the 70s. So it's kind of cool stuff. In the modern time, we're using them a lot more for boosted motors and race application via drag racing, and I think they're actually way more efficient in that application. Things to note, they're not my favorite motor to drive around on the street. Hey, they're a great motor. I'm not saying anything bad about semi-peripherals. I've built them, I've raced with them. Right now I'm running an aggressive street port combo with my 20B, and we're getting about 1,000 horsepower. So I felt like the ease of making horsepower via a semi-peripheral, albeit very easy and very peaky and very fun, it's exciting horsepower, was not as usable or enjoyable in the long run as maybe the same horsepower number that's generated via a street port or a different type of port. That doesn't mean we don't do them. That doesn't mean we don't recommend them. That doesn't mean we don't have fun with them. I definitely think semi-peripheral ports are cool, and they definitely have their place. Like right here. Pro J manifold, semi-peripheral, custom intake manifold, 3 fuel rails. It's like a T7 turbo, water-to-air intercooler, and this particular build is going for probably somewhere around 12 or 1300 horsepower on methanol or ethanol. I like ethanol more. So you can see, if you want to go extreme, a semi-peripheral can take you all the way. And it's also capable of making power down in that, 500, 700 horsepower range. You are going to have lag. It's port lag, it's boost lag. But just like we talk about in some of our other videos, port timing can affect how a motor works, just like cam timing would in a piston motor. And so this hole allows for more overlap, and that just via volume and that change in timing, it just does away with a little of that bottom end. Just like peripheral ports, just like bridge ports. I'd love to see some people's dyno charts, see what people have done out there. Be great. I'll do a follow-up. I've got a dyno chart I'm going to dig up from basically this port combination. It was just a T4, ethanol probably 7 years ago. We've been doing them for a while. And I think it'd be really cool to compare that to what some people are doing with modern builds. And it'll be interesting to see what that drag car I just showcased is getting as well. And another nice thing we're doing nowadays, or the machinist was able to do, is we're O-ringing. So better seal, just better. If you really are against the epoxy, we work with Chipper Sue. We can send them out and have them aluminum plugged. It's really just a matter of budget, goals, and having fun with rotaries. Hopefully this has been an interesting tech talk. We're covering just some of the interesting things that pass through the shop. Semi-peripheral ports via Kyle Mohan Racing.